Hey YouTube, coming at you with the Catch Cup team, triple poison team. There's two things I want to go over in this video. So it's built around Slowking because it's community Pokemon where you got Surf. Want to test it out, and I'll go over that. Actually, I think it actually has really good potential in the Great League if the meta switches a bit. So I'll go over that in a minute. And then the second thing is Poison needs a buff. Like even the backline Tentacruel and Skuntank in neutral situations are just not amazing in this meta right now. So we'll go over that when we get into the battles here. So in these battles, Slowking is interesting because the moveset, so Hex obviously is not, it's not Shadow Claw, but this moveset, you look familiar. It's basically Jellicent's moveset, right? Hex, Surf, Shadow Ball. So the first thing you're going to ask is, what is the difference besides the typings on the two of those? And I'm asking that myself because I was just like, what is the main difference besides the typing here? I just want to see. Yeah, so Hex, Surf, Shadow Ball. Defense, and so higher attack on Slowking, lower defense and lower stamina. So overall stat product is much better on Jellicent, right? So Jellicent has two things going for it in this compared to Slowking. Its moves, its stat product is better. And two, its typing is better. And these duo typings, like, I mean, Jellicent's the duo typing too with Ghost and Water. But this duo typing of Poison and Psychic really like limits you in this meta, I think, right? You have just what I found running this team, triple Poison team, and we'll talk about how Poison needs a buff. But this triple Poison team ran into so many ground and steel type Pokemon which resisted the poison typing moves. So that was really unfortunate. And there is a lot of steel just because there's like the owl, right? So you have a lot of steel trying to beat the owl. Plus some of your main meta like Swampert and stuff like that, ground, resist the poison, right? So, and Diggersby. So there was a lot of just ground and steel that just caused poison problem. Now Slowking doesn't have any sort of poison moves. It's got the Ghost and Surf move and Water moves, which also not going for it. At least if you're running this move set on Jellicent, you're getting the stab, same type attack bonus to go with it. This is all non-stab move, right? So it just seems like worse typing, worse stab product, non-stab move set. So if from that sense, Jellicent's better in this meta. That being said, I think this Pokemon is overall a pretty decent Pokemon, and again, Hex, Surf, Shadow Ball is a pretty good moveset, and I think in limited metas this Pokemon will be quite strong against certain cups, right? So any cup where like ground is banned, or you get like a water or ghost typing ban where you want a substitute for Jellicent, right? This is a very good option. Even though its stat product is worse than Jellicent, it's not a bad Pokemon. Jellicent's like sort of one of the better Pokemon for like PvP. So definitely not something to be upset about with this Pokemon. So I already kind of went over the limitations there. Poison, my man. Okay, Poison needs a buff. I went over in my what needs to change video a few days ago about potential move updates. And there's two sets of moves that are really rough in my opinion, and that is Bug and Poison. And I think Poison Poison Jab is such a hard hitting move, right? We saw the effect that Nidoqueen can have with the Poison Jab, although that was mixed with a Poison Fang. Poison Jab itself is pretty decent. What I'm finding is a lot of the time the stat products on these Pokemon in neutral situations are not as good. So here is a prime example. I had one, maybe two Poison Jab lead with Tentacruel here. They throw the Shadow Ball, which they're already at. I'm just getting to the Scald. So even though I had an energy advantage, I'm now just getting to the Scald. And they would have been able to take me out here had I not just lowered their attack, right? And it's the same. I mean, it's a worse scenario with Lantern because you also have water here. But Skunk was the same against Lantern. Like Lantern far outpaces you to the Poison Jabs. Oops, I have the Crunch and the Sludge in the wrong spot here. the Lantern far outpaces you to the Surfs. It takes like 7 poison jabs to get to a crunch here. And it takes 5 sparks to get to a Surf, and it only takes 2 Surfs to get you out, take you out. It just seems like this Pokemon, these Pokemon, I don't know if it's a poison thing or it's just like the poison that I'm using here. Because Slowking's got a decent stat product. But it just seems like the poison type Pokemon just don't have that ability to stay in here. So like I'm just going through the poisons here. Toxapex seems to be the outlier at 37, but I'm looking at all the other poisons here. Drapion, Golbat, Quailfish, Beedrill, Sneasel, Overquill, Weezing, Venusaur, Toxicroak, Dragalge, Nidoqueen, and even a Grimer, which I've used before, Skuntank, Shadowvik. All these poison Pokemon, if you've used any of them, and I've used the majority of these, are very, very glassy in the Great League relative to other Pokemon. And I don't know if that is just the poison stat product or these Pokemon in particular don't just get to a high level. But that's not even true, because my level 51 Grimer is level 51, and it just takes like any move does like 50% to it minimum. So I want to do this like full analysis on stat products and typings and stuff like that, but it just seems that for Great League for sure, it just seems like poison is really, really rough. And I go to Ultra League and it's the same Pokemon, right? So Tentacruel, Weezing, Gengar is so glassy, Venusaur, Sneasler, Drapion, Skunk, Overquill, it's all the same Pokemon. Drapion, Muck. Muck is actually not too bad, but that's got sort of a dark typing, and darks seem to be pretty. It's interesting because not all darks are tanky, but the darks off the top of my head, Obstagoon, Scrafty, Mandibuzz, Umbreon, they're all Excels, but they're all tanky AF. Malamar, Honchkro's not, but Honchkro's like a glass cannon. I guess Weevil's not as well. It's interesting. So let me know if you've played the main series. Like I said, I've stopped after like Red and Gold, the only two I played. Let me know if there is certain stats associated with certain typings, because it just seems like poison is limited with its sort of bulk stats typing. Like all these Pokemon are fairly glassy, and they don't have right now in this meta, they don't have the oomph to keep up with the main Pokemon that you're going to see here. Just get like the Skull is going to do like 50%, maybe 45%, right? Nothing that they need to respect. This is probably going to be a Sky Attack or Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball won't quite take me out. I may be able to get them all the way down here. They should probably just went double Sky Attack. Yeah, because they should have went double Sky Attack there because I would get to move. If they went double Sky Attack, I wouldn't have got to move. But get to the move. Not that it matters because they have a very tanky... I do it back-to-back here, but unfortunately they get the counter through and I go down. So yeah, that was my thoughts on Slowking and Poison. Again, I don't think the typing helps you any more than the Water Ghost that Jellicent has, right? Being Ghost, Jellicent, and Psychic here, you're still both weak to Dark. Instead of being weak to Electric on Jellicent, you're now weak to like Ground here. You're not using stab moves, so it's just like I think Slowking in limited metas is gonna be very strong because it is like a Jellicent light, just with sort of this more limitations. Skunk. Yeah, Tentacruel, like I said in my other video, Tentacruel is, I think, potential to be pretty strong in Ultra League. I think Great League is just, again, it's just like the limited meta. Like, you're going to get destroyed by Lantern. You still take Super Effective from Psychic from Medicham. If they will just go straight Sky Attack, you're going to get outpaced to the Sky Attacks on the Owl. All the steals, Registeel, Bastiodon, Galarian Stunfisk, are just going to wall you, right? So it just seems like a very limited Pokemon. And the skunk, use Drapion, use other Pokemon. It just did not seem like it. I think it's going to fit well in Ultra League, given the meta. It just did not hold up in the Great League versus the meta. Like I said, you don't get to the moves fast enough compared to like some of the main meta, and you're not bulky enough to deal with it. So kind of disappointed on bulk with the poisons and their movesets. Yeah. There really is like a hierarchy, in my opinion, of typings in this game. Right? Let me just bring up all the typings here. Because I really see that there is a hierarchy in sort of typings here. I think Dark and Ghost seems to be like a super high-end typing. Like most of those Pokemon are super strong or hit pretty hard or bulky or a mixture of both. Just seem to be pretty good there. I already talked about Poison and Bug on the bottom end. I think Electric is also on the bottom end, in my opinion. I think there's just not a lot of, like, Wild Charge is like the only, I guess there's like Thunderbolt and stuff like that, and Spark Charge is fast, but it just seems that like Electric is pretty weak. Fighting seems to be like again one of those super strong, I mean, counters like Broken, but even some of these like close combat and stuff like that, like just seems like there's a lot of strong fighting moves. Fire, I think, also probably could use a buff in this meta. Like I used Delphox the other day, and it just like the fire spin seems slow. So I could see like I wouldn't mind like a buff to fire. Water, I think water is like decent. Grass is an interesting one. I think grass always seems like the weaker. Now that I think about it, I'm thinking back to the original. Like I played Pokemon Red, right? Pokemon Red, Pokemon Gold. And I was always Charizard because it was just always the coolest. And that was always like the harder hitting one. And Blastoise was always like the more defensive one. That was still pretty good. And then Venusaur was for my brother, and I always made fun of him. It was just like, it's an easy typing. But it's an easy typing that like doesn't do well overall. And I'm not saying like in this meta, like Frenzy Plant still hits you super hard no matter where you are. So outside of that though, grass seems to be whatever. There's some other stuff on here that's just kind of whatever. For me, like fairy is whatever. I like the fairy typing is just kind of whatever. Flying's an interesting one because flying is so skewed right now based on the owl and Charizard kind of dominating. But outside of like that, I feel like flying was like, I guess I shouldn't say it was limited because there was Altaria, but Altaria was kind of more of like dragon focused. And I guess Pidgeot, but that was just because the Feather Dance kind of broke the game for a little bit there. But I guess there's Ho-Oh and others there. And what's that other flying Pokemon that I'm had a community day for Incinerate? Talonflame was also pretty decent. So I guess there's a decent amount of flying Pokemon in this. Yeah. Anyways, that's just my random thoughts on typings. And as a team. So I do have I think after this, I've got a try-hard team, Tapu Fini, and 2 other Pokemon of the combined that I've used so far. And it's been doing pretty well for me. So I will showcase that before league turnover and hope for the best that there is some updates. If I had to put money on it, there is going to be super, super minimal. I don't think they'll just do none again. I really think like a lot of people were pissed off at that last time. They could cop out and just say we're not doing any move updates because the championship. I don't think they will, but I don't think they're going to change much. I think it'll be like minor. I don't even know if there'll be like buffs here and there. It'll just be like minor bumps, minor like move changes. New Pokemon will get this move. This Pokemon, like I don't think it's gonna be much. Is my guess. Yeah, but we will see. Anyways, that is it. Appreciate you watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.